Welcome to a new daily top AskReddit video. Today's topic:
people without anxiety. What do you think about when nothing is going on? Most days I'm content and always able to have something to look forward to. Like I'm eager to go to work because I get along with and have fun with my coworkers. But I'm eager to go home because my wife and kids make me so happy. I think that's the best way to describe it. Always having something to look forward to. That sounds really nice. It sounds pleasant. To me, pleasant isn't an overwhelming feeling of joy or happiness or whatever. Pleasant is just that warm background vibe that everything's gonna be okay. Someday I hope to master this ability too. Removed. Yes, but those imagined scenarios all end in pain, loss and suffering, right? They used to for me. Then I got my depression fixed. Most of the time, nothing specific. Just whatever drifts into my head. Right now, apart from writing this, I'm basically thinking about nothing. As someone who's had anxiety from a very young age, I'm talking at least 5 years old but probably younger, I just can't remember much past that. When I hear someone say they can just think about nothing, I literally can't believe it. Like I cannot comprehend having zero thoughts in my head. Even if I'm bored out of my mind and zoning out, there's a song playing in my head, either a real or fake conversation. My brain makes up scenarios. I'm planning out a conversation that's gonna happen at work later, or thinking of all the detours I can take to work if a certain road is magically closed so I can still be on time. You get it, the list is endless. What does it feel like thinking of nothing? Are you aware of it? That's crazy to me. I too have zero calm. Feel you. This post made me think about my anxiety issues, so I feel anxious now. Removed. Even if someone tries to explain it, it will probably be incomprehensible. It just took me 3 days to make a phone call, and I almost left it for tomorrow while I should have done it right away. I'm proud of you. Phone calls are hard for me, too. I have to hype myself up, and usually write a script if it's important. And then I try to call at a time where I know I will get an answering machine. I developed anxiety at age 40, and for the most part it's controlled and I can even forget I had it, then sometimes something brings it back. It's crazy that people can function with anxiety. It feels so all-consuming, even the very low-grade version. Feels like someone flipped a switch in the brain that should not have been flipped. When I have anxiety, I'm mostly ruminating on the anxiety itself and hoping it goes away. Trying to figure out what triggered it, what I can do at the moment to alleviate it. When it's gone, I think like I usually do, which in my case is focusing on whatever task is at hand and looking ahead to things, activities I enjoy. It feels impossible, difficult to think about enjoying anything when I have anxiety. I can definitely see how anxiety and depression overlap. I think I experienced a few days of depression, maybe several hours total, and I'd take anxiety over that any day. Thank God drugs exist which can help many people. I feel this. I'm 41 and only felt anxiety for the first time about a year ago. Growing, I raced karts since the age of 10 to 21 and wasn't ever nervous. While my competitors were nervously pacing around before a race, I was napping. My dad would have to wake me up and tell me it's race time. Then I raced motorcycles on my own and still was never nervous. It was relaxing and meditative. I'm in the hospitality industry, and after COVID it got tough. No work-life balance. I just worked for several years with hardly any time off, certainly no vacations or fun stuff. One day I had a panic attack, and then they kept happening with increasing frequency. My brain was screaming, run as far away as possible and hid in a corner. But my body was paralyzed. All I could do was stand in the corner behind the bar and stare at the floor while hoping the bad thoughts and tightness in my chest would just go away. I quit the job for my own sake, and now I'm better and ready to go back to the industry, but, holy shit, I don't wish anxiety on anyone. This is a cool comment. It reads like someone without anxiety actually understanding those of us with it. That's rare. Usually you can tell non-anxious people don't get it at all when they say they do. Though I know in your case you do have anxiety now, it still gives me the same feeling. I appreciate this comment a lot. The Roman Empire. Or World War II era war machines. 2 words, Schwerer Gustav. Being retired and living alone, there's a lot of time with nothing going on. So I have a couple of writing projects going, and I've always got things to think about on those. And I listen to music a lot. That's always been one of my favorite things. I have a nice sound system and tinker with it sometimes, considering various possible upgrades. It's cheaper to think about than it is to do anything though, so it's more thinking about things. And just listening and thinking about nothing is pretty nice too sometimes. I also always wanted to know more about many different things. Physics are one, and there are a few YouTube science communicators I follow. I was also always interested in electronic engineering, and I follow 3 or 4 channels on that. Learning things is generally enjoyable. I also have various projects going on with the house, and any given project will involve a great deal of visualization and thinking and planning. For example, I have a bookshelf that doesn't fit the main room well and I've been designing a replacement for it. Maybe I'll build it next year, but the design still needs work. Anyway, there's always plenty to think about. As someone who doesn't suffer from anxiety, I can't imagine the flip side. Like, why worry about things outside of your control? I pretty much just think in the moment, like if I'm doing something I enjoy then I'm fully enjoying it. If I'm doing something I don't enjoy then I know it will be over soon. I recently had a cancer diagnosis, but there ain't much I can do about it other than manage the situation and treatment plan. It maybe made me take stock of a few lifestyle changes that are needed, but I just have to get on with it. My GF has terrible anxiety and worries about everything, man, shrugging. We couldn't be more different in how we cope with things. The problem with saying, why worry, is there is no why. It's like one of those noise-making toys that is just on all the time, but it got damaged, so now instead of making noise with a specific trigger, the noise is constantly blaring and there's no way to turn it off. Except with anxiety, the more you try to turn it off the louder it gets. By the way, sorry about the cancer, but sounds like you're on top of it. I can't imagine the flip side. Speaking as someone who had anxiety triggered by a medication, before I had it I could not have imagined it. I was worried about driving around the corner, because what if someone came around right as I did and hit me? I used to take it for granted that I didn't worry about any of that bullshit, but now I understand that the people who do are compelled to worry about it, and that sucks. This is so weird for me. I live in constant state of the worst that will happen at every moment. I think this because almost most things that have happened have been bad, so why would I think otherwise? I wish there was a reasonable answer to why, but if there was, none of us would be this way. It's a truly exhausting way to live. Personally, I finally found a medication that somewhat manages it, and I never want to go off it because I never want to go back to living in a constant state of worry. I still probably worry about stuff more than my non-anxious husband, but on the medication the difference is I don't get stuck in a loop. I can dismiss the thought more quickly and move on. Best of luck with your health. We're not talking about rational or voluntary thoughts here. It causes thoughts that don't go away until you address them. It's usually negativity in the form of worst-case scenarios that you have to constantly rationalize. Nothing. I bet having a quiet mind, no matter what you're doing, is great. I would love to have that. I dream of this. God, I wish I had a Xanax RX. I don't and want and shouldn't, but the yearly MRI RX I get for an MRI is lovely. Probably just the default elevator music their brain came with. That's the MIDI version of the girl from Ipanema. MIDI version of the girl from Ipanema. https://bitmidi.com/thegirlfromipanema-mid. Terrifying. All sorts of stuff. Food, upcoming events I'm looking forward to, video games, movies, things that happened that day at work, clothes I want to buy, my dogs, my husband, etc. Removed. That sounds like anxiety to me, but even then I feel anxiety over active thoughts that give me anxiety. I guess I probably don't have it. That sounds like anxiety. There is always something going on. Say I'm at work doing an activity I can literally do with my eyes closed. My mind just races with anxious thoughts and it's very hard to stop. I'm still doing something, but it's not enough. Usually think about random stuff like food, hobbies, or just let my mind wander. Just whatever. I am watching a show, or thinking about going to the store later. Sometimes I am thinking random thoughts like, if I could ride a T-Rex, where would we go? Sometimes I just watch the birds. Where would you go? ? I have a strange form of anxiety. I don't get anxious about things, but I just get very strong physical symptoms. Body permanently feels like it is internally vibrating. It's pretty horrible and makes it very hard to sleep. I always get the chest pains from it, which in turn makes me anxious about my anxiety. If you have internal vibrations going on often, there might be a physical reason for it. I think mine was caused by B vitamin deficiency. Possibly also magnesium. Haven't had it in years after magnesium and B12 vitamins with cofactors for B12. Still have anxiety though. I always think about women, which makes me feel less anxious temporarily. Lol, I wish I had the same experience, my dude. I'm retired, so my main focus is vacation travel and hobbies. I yearn for the day I can retire and hopefully have enough money to enjoy it. I'm not even 30 yet, so that day is far, far away, but I'll get there eventually, assuming I don't die first. My dad is set to retire next year and he's already living it up. He was always stingy and great with money, so despite being a government employee his whole career, he has a very healthy amount of money saved up with my mom. No mortgage or car payments, no credit card debt, nothing. Totally debt-free. He's been planning some grand retirement trip to go state and national park hopping for like a year just because. Said H is gonna get a new car, maybe a small single-person fishing boat and just tour around to his heart's content. Fuck, that sounds like the life. Fishing. Fishing gear. Yeah, I figured hobbies would be the second place category, after sex. 18 responses so far and no one has said sex. Hobbies it is. Reddit gonna Reddit. Usually think about my hobbies or future plans, or just let my mind wander freely. I just make an effort to enjoy the moment right here, right now. Just for context, I'm 41, full-time job, wife and kid. Comfortable financially but not rich. I am a very planful individual, so I spend a lot of my time planning what I am going to do next. I kind of separate my plans into very short term, and long term, and I kind of methodically go through them in that order and just kind of either clear off the items or decide when I'm going to do them. That helps keep my mind at ease, knowing that I have a plan in place for the things that need doing. When I don't have anything to plan for or think of, I usually use music as my method to achieve mental nothingness. When I don't have anything else in my brain, I can melt into music and sort of let my mind carry me away to fantastic places.